Kempire is brought to you by
Washington, D.C., the Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era live tour is coming to your city on August 22nd. But before that, we're coming to Philly on July 10th at City Winery. Then we're going to Atlanta on August 5th. Then we're going to Washington, D.C., and this is going to be an all-new show, all new hot topics, all new reality TV conversation, and all kinds of amazing guests and surprises. Be sure to get your tickets today, and don't forget, we're coming back to New York City on September 12th. Go get your tickets. There's also a live stream option exclusively for the New York City show. More information will be available in the description.
You're listening to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network.
It's day 10 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, and his former assistant, Capricorn Clark, has taken the stand, detailing her work for him, her work for Cassie Ventura, what she thought of their relationship, the things that she witnessed, the things that she experienced at the hand of Diddy, including GUNs, physical force, and more. This is our coverage of the Sean Diddy Combs trial on day 10. This is my second take in doing this video. And I'm keeping my fourth wall in because you guys have to know the amount of work that goes into doing this. I recorded for over an hour going through Inner City Press's transcript, their version, again, for lack of a better word, transcript of Capricorn Clark's testimony. I'm not going to repeat it because literally the video that I did, there was no audio. And that alone took like almost an hour going through it. So again, and I was literally in the middle of doing the summary, just kind of filling in any sort of holes in the transcript. And I said, I don't have any audio. Now, the life of a content creator and trying to get this report to you guys. So you're going to get an abbreviated version of what I just did because the voice is not going to be able to do it another hour. But the summary, I have to say, as you know, we've been covering this for the last 10 days, and we've been giving you a full update and a summary of the day's events. We're not going live. We're not staying live for hours, or we're not in the courtroom. We're trying to summarize everything that's playing out because some of you don't have hours in the day to watch or listen to this content. Speaking of listening, don't forget you can hear our Diddy updates and other exclusive content on the Kempire podcast. So subscribe today, and while you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Today's broadcast is brought to you by our friends over at Factor Meals. On a day like today, I definitely do not have time to be cooking, but Factor Meals has you covered, and they have all kinds of meals that cover you from Calorie Smart to Protein Plus to even keto. But of course, I've gotten you a deal. Get started at factormeals.com/Kempire50off and use code Kempire50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code Kempire50off at factormeals.com/Kempire50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Factormeals.com/Kempire50off. More information on Factor Meals and your discount will be available in the description. So let me get into this. And if I take multiple sips, now you know why. Okay, I wanted to be 100% transparent with you guys. If it was like 10 minutes, I'd be like, okay. It was literally over an hour and 11 minutes. I looked up and I was like, I'm muted. It's okay. It's okay. We're still here. I'm still going to do it, but I'm just going to give you an abbreviated version, just a summary. But it's definitely going to give you the main details of what has been playing out when it comes to Capricorn Clark and her testimony today. First off, I do want to remind you that there's another part of this that's playing out on social media. We did a video yesterday talking about Dawn Rashard responding to Q from day 26, basically saying that he felt that she drugged him. She gave him a pill that Diddy apparently instructed her to give him. He thought it was ecstasy. He came out and said it turned out that it was allegedly, I'm going to say, a horse tranquilizer. He said that he's never been the same. He's had spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical reactions to whatever transpired that day. Dawn came out and said, I completely deny that. Former Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money star Dawn Rashard is responding to accusations that her ex-boyfriend and Day 26 star Q claiming that she gave him a pill that she said that Diddy told her to give to him which subsequently made him fall asleep and wake up to others taking video footage of him. He believes that Diddy was trying to sacrifice him. Over the weekend, I mentioned, I think in the last video that I did, that Q did this interview with Aubrey O'Day on TJ Holmes and Amy Robach's podcast. Yes, you know, the former journalists that were disgraced because they had an affair on their... Yes, okay. I just wanted to give you a quick update on who those people were. But they did an interview with Q from day 26, and he revealed some interesting but shocking information. A lot of people are saying they're not surprised. They believe Q, and they believe that Q has never been the same since this particular incident that he detailed in this new interview on this podcast. So let's take a listen to that before we get into what Dawn Rashard is saying.
I was around Dirty Money for about a year while they were creating Last Train to Paris. And I guess I was around because I was dating Dawn. I just happened to be around. So Diddy's like, I think he was very, very high. He's like, we're going to go to the Hamptons. He was like, we're going to go stay the night there and you guys want to come. And it felt very weird because this energy just felt so weird. You know what I mean? It was friendly high. You know what I'm saying? Like a friendly invitation to something.
And it should be noted, based off of this trial, what we've discovered is that Diddy loved ecstasy pills. And if you know anything about that, you don't necessarily have to do it to know. It makes you very happy and touchy and things like that.
Usually like that?
No, he's never invited all of us to one of his houses. Oh. So before we get to the Hamptons, they're like speeding in these black SUVs on the expressway very, very fast. Like they were in a rush to get to the Hamptons. We get to the Hamptons and we walk through the house and we arrive in the backyard near the pool. And I was with Dirty Money. At this time, I was around Dirty Money for a pool. And my ex at the time, which was Dawn, she gave me an ecstasy pill. And she says...
Is that what she said it was?
Yeah, she said it was ecstasy. And she said it was from Puff to give to me. And it was red. And I took it because I thought I was going to get freaky with my girlfriend. You know, we tried ecstasy before. And I trusted her that's what it was. So I took it immediately and she had one too. He gave her two of them. I took mine. Within like 20 minutes, I knocked out and blacked out. Yeah. I woke up in the twins' bedroom in the basement, and I woke up out of my sleep screaming very, very loud.
Who are the twins?
I don't know their names.
You're talking about Diddy's daughters?
Twins.
Okay.
Yeah. Diddy's twins.
That's
his
Aubrey
girls.
O'Day
Yeah, I woke up in there.
For those that are wondering, that's Aubrey O'Day speaking because this is a special podcast where she's covering the trial.
To cameras filming me. And they were laughing as I pool and my sleep screaming. And it felt like I'm not gonna cry.
It's okay. Take your time. Yeah, take your time. It's okay. It's understandable that you're reliving this and emotion comes with it. There's just no way around it. So it
felt very sacrificial. That's what I meant when I said I felt like they were trying to hurt me or Diddy was trying to maybe sacrifice me that night. I didn't say when I went on Vlad TV, I didn't say anything about finding a sacrificial email.
Hold on. What he's discussing in regards to Vlad TV is that's one of the interviews that the boys did. He had to leave gaps within that interview, and they decided to fill those gaps. It's kind of what I've experienced this past week. As you guys know, we started this out, and it was...
Okay, so Q posted on social media a caption saying this, I take full accountability for what I allowed in my life because in the end, I had a choice. But let me be candid. I genuinely believed I was taking something I've tried before, meaning the pill. He says, it wasn't ecstasy. It turned out to be a horse tranquilizer given to me by my ex-girlfriend who claimed it was from her boss to give me. Roughly 20 minutes after swallowing the red pill, my body heated up and I collapsed into unconsciousness. I remember being on the upper level of the mansion near the pool and then nothing. I later woke up in a room downstairs and lying in a bed with no memory of how I got there. I emerged from a deep, paralyzing sleep. Screaming and sobbing, my body in shock, my mind spinning in confusion. The horror of realizing I've been drugged with something far more potent than I was led to believe shattered me. He says, there were 2 red pills. She never took hers. That part always haunted me. It felt like a shared experience and more like an experiment. Like I was a lab mouse in some twisted trial to see how fast I'd collapse. Part of me wanted to know, when he talked about this in the podcast, who was filming him at the time? Who was there and who was laughing? And he says none of it was funny. It was terrifying. My trust had been manipulated and my vulnerability exploited. After I came to, I began experiencing disturbing psychological symptoms, auditory hallucinations, racing thoughts, intense paranoia, and crushing anxiety. You remember the last season of Day 26's Making of the Band, and they were trying to make it appear that Q was problematic, Q was losing his mind. I've interviewed Q before, and Q was just not, there was something going on with Q when I interviewed him, and I was just like, that was weird. He says that my thoughts weren't clear, my memory started slipping. It felt like my mind had regressed. I was forced to relearn basic things with the support of doctors and loved ones. The pill had broken me mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Whatever ritual, spell, or manipulation that pill carried, it hijacked my autonomy. I began isolating myself. Sleep became my only escape from the pressure in my skull. I truly believed it was orchestrated by her boss, a display of power meant to destabilize a weak mind and instill fear. To anyone quick to judge or dismiss my trauma, please remember you weren't there. Mental health is a silent war, one I've fought in the shadows for too long. When you love someone, you're willing to go to unimaginable lengths for them. Trust becomes your compass. This journey I'm on is about reclaiming my power, choosing truth, and healing out loud. If you listen to the full interview, which I did over the weekend, that Q did with Amy Robach and TJ Holmes and Aubrey, his mother was also there, and she also talked about that journey and the changes that she saw in Q at the time. Well, Dawn Rashard, who you know is suing Sean Diddy Combs for money that's owed to her, accusing him of harming her, harming Cassie in front of her. As you also know, she testified for the prosecution in Diddy's trial, documenting Cassie's abuse. I want to read what Dawn had to say. So Dawn posted on social, because this is pretty damning. I have to say, when I first heard about this, I was like, oh, that does not look good for Dawn. So Dawn responds in a written statement saying, I want to be unequivocally clear. I have never drugged anyone, nor have I ever given anyone pills to take. The suggestion that I did so is categorically false. If such a belief were genuine, it would be inconsistent with the actions that followed, such as inviting me into your home, introducing me to your younger sisters and family, and continuing a relationship with me. It would also be inconsistent with choosing to attend social events without me, engaging with individuals I had previously expressed concerns about, and continue to live with or provide favors to those same individuals. Many of these actions occurred while I was not present or even in contact with you. Sidebar, though, this is the way that she's trying to paint him is exactly how the defense tried to paint her on the stand. Why exactly did you reach out to Diddy back in 2020 and 2021 to continue to work with him, even though in your civil lawsuit, which is for money, you are making him out to be the devil? You saw what he did. You said you were scared of him. I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying either or there. I'm trying to paint the picture for you of what the defense had to say about Dawn Rashard and now what she's saying about Q. She continues in her statement, throughout our time together and even after our separation, I made a conscious decision not to share or disclose private matters or the circumstances surrounding the end of our relationship to protect you. She put the you in capital. I did this out of respect for you and your family. Can I be honest? When they had their relationship, I felt like it was an industry relationship. I didn't feel like it was like a real relationship. I'm just reminding myself of what I observed during that time as an outsider. She continues in her statement. Dawn says, at this moment, I believe it's essential to recognize that many people are dealing with pain and hardship. This situation is not about one person. It reflects broader harm that has affected many. I sincerely hope that healing and wholeness are possible for all involved. My intention is and always has been to move forward with compassion and integrity, and I pray that others can do the same. Here's the thing. Could Diddy have been the mastermind and created victims and utilized these victims to be his accomplices at particular points? I think both can be true. I do believe that he could have utilized people like Cassie, people like Dawn, other people, assistants, workers. They clearly are going on the stand in this Diddy trial and saying that I did some things because he was a powerful person. I was scared of him. At the time, I was like, well, this is what he's wanting me to do. People are doing things like this. Unfortunately, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. People are doing these things. So I wouldn't be shocked that some of these people couldn't be viewed not just as victims, but also accomplices, doing the bidding of a very powerful and influential man that's gotten away with abuses. I don't think that's an argument. He's admitted this in court. He is an abuser of drugs, of people. Is he going to be convicted on trafficking and racketeering? Well, that's up to the jurors. I don't think there is an argument to say that Diddy has abused people, has victims, and maybe some of those victims were also made into accomplices, probably intentionally. It's interesting to see all the people that have been connected to Diddy and what's been playing out on social media lately. We were just talking about Misa Hilton suing Mary J. Blige. There's just a lot of things playing out. Let me get into some things that I discovered over the weekend before we get into today's summary of day 10. I saw this from our friends over at On Site, and it's a transcript, an actual transcript from Kid Cudi's, well, it was a sidebar, and it's related to Kid Cudi and his testimony. And I feel as if Diddy's legal team's strategy is to try to trigger a mistrial. Because in this transcript, they literally are saying, if he says this, it's going to lead to a mistrial. And I told you a couple of weeks ago when Cassie Ventura was testifying, the defense wanted to drag this out over the weekend, and the judge didn't want to hear it. The prosecution didn't want to hear it because she's pregnant. And she was 8.5 months pregnant at that time. Word on street, she hasn't given birth yet. I haven't heard anything. And they felt as if she had given birth, it would have, over the weekend, and that she wouldn't be able to testify, it would trigger a mistrial. And it seems as if that's what Diddy's attorneys were trying to do at the time. Well, On Site got this transcript from this sidebar that I wanted to read to you. I remember everything that I posted in the original video. Okay. Mr. Steele is an attorney for Diddy. At the sidebar, Mr. Steele says, "May I?" The judge says, "Yes." Mr. Steele says, "Your Honor, I'm going to move for a mistrial. The government knows the answer is about to be that Mr. Combs has had other people unalived." I'm changing the words. "This is an outrageous question." The judge says, "He didn't say that." Mr. Steele says, "But he will say that." The judge says, "He hasn't said that." Mr. Steele says, "He's about to say it. I'm putting the court on notice." The court says, "No, you don't get to put me on notice," the judge. "You don't get to put me on notice. There's no grounds for any kind of application along those lines because no question that you're talking about has been asked and the answer has not been given." They continue, "Now, what is the objection to the question that was asked?" Mr. Steele says, "Why were you scared of Mr. Combs?" And his answer is going to be, because Mr. Combs is violent. He has had other people unalived. I'm changing the word to unalived. The judge says his understanding of things that had happened and his understanding of that event is not a 404A issue, which is what was raised, correct? Mr. Steele says it's not going to be a 4. It's not like that. The judge says that was the objection that was raised. So what is the objection? Mr. Steele says he called his friend. This is what is in the 3500. I know the court read it. He calls his friend who told him that Mr. Combs has had other people unalived. I believe that's going to be his answer why he was scared. I'm preempting it because I know the court. If he says it, the judge says, "That's the way you raise the issue?" Okay, question mark. Mr. Steele says, "Yes, I just wanted to give you a preview." The judge says, "Now, what further questions do you have, Ms. Johnson?" That's the AUSA. Ms. Johnson says, I don't have any further questions on this, and I don't believe that's what he would say. I was specifically directing this to the end of the relationship and his concerns at the time. The judge says, well, to be fair, you asked the question, you got the answer. And Mr. Seal, your point is, let's just move on, right? Mr. Seal says, please. The court says, so let's move on. I do feel like they're itching for a mistrial, I feel like. But we'll see. If this comes up again, then who called it? Let me give you a summary of what's played out in the last few days. NBC reminds us that Capricorn Clark is set to testify today, along with personnel from the LAPD and fire departments. And I'm guessing this is all in relation to Kid Cudi's car, his Porsche. So today will mark the 10th day of testimony, and the lawyers and the judge are cautiously optimistic about meeting their goal of turning this case over to jurors by the 4th of July. As long as the defense stays to a week, I think that's fair, the lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, told the judge just before adjournment last week. The case got off to a slow start with the extended questioning of the defendant's former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, but the pace has been picking up. It felt as if the defense was trying to drag out the line of questioning with Cassie Ventura in order to bring it over the weekend, but the judge was not hearing it back then. So on Thursday, when the trial was last in session, rapper Kid Cudi, whose real name is Scott Muscudi, testified about his relationship with Cassie Ventura and the abusive nature of her relationship with Sean Combs. Cudi also testified that his car was torched with a Molotov cocktail after his relationship with Ventura ended, and he suspected that Combs was involved. He said that he and Ventura stopped seeing each other, noting the drama was too out of hand and to give her some space. And I'm thinking maybe the whole car incident was just sort of Diddy's way of exuding his power. That is a pattern that I saw in Capricorn Clark's testimony, what we've seen in other testimony for this trial. Combs' former assistant, George Kaplan, also returned to the stand Thursday. He described his duties, which included cleaning up liquor bottles and baby oil from hotel rooms. And that is brought up in Capricorn Clark's testimony today as well. So while Sean Combs' federal trial has been rife with drama, cringe, and explosive moments, lawyers not involved in the case say prosecutors have yet to prove the music mogul is guilty of racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking. If you listen to any of our previous videos, we've also brought on some other attorneys to cite their opinion so far. And the Fox 5 defense attorney that they utilized said that right now the government hasn't proved their charges yet. Okay, they haven't convinced us yet. However, you can see that they're painting a picture. They are putting puzzle pieces together. And I think in Capricorn Clark's testimony today, that picture is almost complete, or at least part of that picture is almost complete, in my opinion, as a non-attorney. They also talk more about this here. One of the attorneys that they cited, a defense attorney, Tama Beth Cudman, says, I'm not seeing the development of a racketeering enterprise. I'm not seeing the thread that creates an enterprise with a unified purpose. Okay, so that's important to note. But again, only the third week. Sean Combs has arrived and hugging one of his defense attorneys, Tenny Garagos, as they prepared for week 3. Capricorn Clark is called to the stand. Capricorn Clark, former employee, has been called to testify by the government. Clark said that she started at Bad Boy Records in 2004 and worked for Combs until 2020, like on and off. When you look at the testimony, she worked for him, then stopped working for him. He fired her, unfired her, kind of thing. She also served as Cassie Ventura's creative director until 2018, she told the court. Combs' former employee described how that she was once in fear of her life after he threatened to unalive her while discussing Suge Knight. Clark, Combs, and Combs' head of security, Uncle Paulie, were walking through Central Park in New York City when Combs brought up Suge Knight. Clark describes Combs' calm demeanor in expressing his anger over learning that she had once worked for the Death Row Records kingpin, and apparently one of her good girlfriends has a child by Suge Knight as well. When the prosecution asked Clark if she took these threats as serious, she said, very serious. The defendant once made a vague threat regarding 50 Cent, according to Capricorn Clark. After Combs and 50 Cent finished doing press for MTV, the defendant told his manager that he was having an issue with the rapper, real name Curtis Jackson. It should also be noticed that Curtis Jackson, a.k.a. 50 Cent, is also working on a documentary about Diddy for Netflix. Combs punctuated the chat with, "I like GUNs," the witness said. Clark told the court that Combs once accused her of stealing 3 pieces of high-end jewelry from Jacob the jeweler, and that he had been given on loan, and subjected her to a lie detector test when it went missing. This lie detector test went on for 5 days. She testified that Combs had tasked her with bringing the jewelry to Teterboro Airport, but she didn't realize that the items were gone until she was at the airport. Clark told the court that she was brought to an office she didn't recognize in New York City after being questioned for hours on the matter. It also makes me wonder, did the jewelry really go missing, or did he set her up for the jewelry to go missing and to be able to torture her in this way? Clark told the court that she was brought to an office she didn't recognize in New York City after being questioned for hours on the matter. A heavy-set man on the 6th floor of the building told her that she was there to take a lie detector test, and that if she failed, he would throw her into the East River. George Kaplan, another former assistant who worked for Combs, testified last week that he was also ordered to take a lie detector test on 2 different occasions during his employment. That's when we found out that Diddy also knew or was friends with, I don't know if this man was on the payroll, with a former FBI agent. After 3 pieces of jewelry went missing, Clark told the court that she was told that she wasn't free to leave until she passed the lie detector test. The first test was inconclusive, and she was threatened again with being thrown into the East River by the man administering the polygraph, Clark said. She was brought home and forced back the next day, saying that she was told by Combs' security she was not free to leave until she was cleared of any wrongdoing. It took 5 days of taking the test, she said. She did not want to take the test, but she wanted to get through the ordeal and prove her innocence. Clark says that she lost hair and barely slept due to 24-hour stress of her job working for Combs. For a $55,000 salary, Clark said that she regularly worked from 7 a.m. to 4 a.m. She also said that she went to HR at one particular point, and HR told her that she was owed $80,000 in, I guess, overtime pay, and she brought that paperwork to Diddy, and Diddy ripped it up. Doing everything from research to fetching, dry cleaning, and food. The witness said that she even suffered from stress-related alopecia, meaning she was losing her hair, a clinical term for hair loss due to her boss's nonstop demands. Part of Clark's job was to set up hotel rooms for Combs, which she told the court required drugs and intravenous drips, IVs. She said that she would unpack his clothing and make sure his personal belongings were in place, which included baby oil and a small camera. Part of the setup required a toiletry bag with drugs such as ecstasy. Combs also required IV drips for himself and Cassie, which he said contained something similar to serotonin supplements and would help him recover from drug use. Okay. Combs once forced Cassie Ventura to obediently move at his command in front of other women, Clark said. She recalled in 2010 an interaction with Combs at his Los Angeles home when he questioned why she didn't have a boyfriend. That's when Combs summoned girlfriend Cassie into the room and had her sit down, stand up, and turn around on command, Clark said. Combs then allegedly added that you B-words don't want to do that, and that's why you don't have a man. I'd much rather be single then, right? There were times when Combs asked Clark to obtain drugs on his behalf, including illicit substances as well as prescription medication, she testified. She also confirmed, again, another assistant confirming, along with the pictures we saw, the aliases that he would use sometimes would be Frank Black or Frank White. And she talked about that Kim Porter would come to one of the locations once a week, and one of the aliases that he would put the girlfriends under was Jackie Starr, which is what Cassie testified to as well. Clark told the court that while Combs usually obtained drugs on his own, she was sometimes asked to get substances for him. She said that Combs once asked her to get him cocaine while they were in the south of France in 2006, which made me go, I wonder if he's facing any charges abroad, not just for that incident, obtaining drugs or anything like that, but for similar behavior maybe to other people or to people in these locations. He also asked her to get prescription drugs in her name and that he would pay her for it. I wonder if she has a deal with the prosecution, because being an assistant, I'm a little concerned. There were some things that she was asked to do that were illegal. Clark recalled a 2006 incident at Combs' Miami home when he forcefully shoved her. Capricorn used her hands in a shoving motion when describing how enraged Combs allegedly pushed her around while saying, "If you hate it here, get the F out of my house." So, just to give you context from the transcript from Inner City Press, their transcript, apparently she had went to the chef at the time and said, "Do you guys have turkey bacon?" The chef said, "We don't have any effing turkey bacon." And that's where Capricorn Clark says, "Gosh, I hate it here." And apparently the chef went back and told Diddy. Tearful Clark told jurors of the incident, she says, "That was crossing my boundary." The burner phone that Cassie Ventura used to contact Scott Mescudi, also known as Kid Cudi, was purchased at Clark's urging, because when she came back to work with Diddy, she was working as a creative director for Cassie. And Cassie, sometimes when she would visit LA, because she was based in New York, when she would visit LA, she would either stay in a hotel, she would stay with Diddy, or sometimes she would stay with Capricorn Clark. And Capricorn reveals that Cassie told her about this relationship with Kid Cudi, had texted her on a phone that Sean Diddy Combs provided for both Capricorn Clark and for Cassie. And she was like, "Girl, you need to get a burner phone. Delete that text." The burner phone that Cassie Ventura used to contact Kid Cudi was purchased by Clark's urging. She said that she picked up Cassie one day and Cassie asked Kid Cudi to join them, which Clark thought was a bad idea. Clark testified that she was concerned that Cassie was texting her on a phone paid for by Combs and that it wasn't a good idea. Clark took Cassie to Best Buy to buy a new phone because she feared that Cassie was, quote, going to get us all unalived. Clark recalled the morning of December 22nd, 2011, when Combs banged on her apartment door as her enraged boss said that they were going to confront rapper Kid Cudi, real name Scott Mescudi. Clark said that Combs was visibly furious, his pants split at the crotch as he paced back and forth with a firearm. He just said, "Get dressed, we're going to unalive Mescudi." Clark testified. The GUN was in his hand. The witness's testimony could be crucial to the government's racketeering case, NBC notes. If prosecutors can show that Combs marshaling his company resources for use in a criminal action, like arson. Kid Cudi had earlier testified to Combs' rage when he learned that Ventura was seeing him. Clark told the court that she was sitting in a car at Cudi's home when Combs accessed the main door of the rapper's property. She called Cassie Ventura from the car and told her that Combs came to Cudi's home to unalive the rapper. Clark testified. She said that Combs came back to the car and asked to see her phone, calling the last number in the call history. She also talked about when she was in the car, she also changed the burner phone number that she had for Cassie to a friend of hers named Stormy. I can't remember. I'm remembering basically everything that happened in court. Look at my memory. Clark said that Combs ordered her to call Cassie to let her know that Combs had her and that he wasn't going to let Clark go until Cassie came. Cassie calmly agreed, Clark testified, and Clark went to pick her up. They returned together to Combs' home where Combs allegedly told them not to speak to the police and urged them to convince Cudi to not tell the police he was involved. That's what Capricorn Clark testified. She said that part of her job that night when he forced her to allegedly to go with him to Kid Cudi's home was to convince Cudi not to go to the police. However, she also testified that I guess the arson officials that were investigating what happened to his Porsche had reached out to her, but she never responded to them. She just said she wanted to forget it. Combs repeatedly kicked and beat Cassie Ventura as he wore only a robe and underwear after she arrived at his home following the Kid Cudi break-in, Clark tearfully testified. Clark told the court that Combs came at Cassie 100% full force, repeatedly kicking his former girlfriend while she crouched more and more into a fetal position. Cassie was crying quietly as Combs kicked her in the back over and over again, she testified. Combs' former employee struggled to speak while recounting the incident to the court, testifying that Cassie was only a few feet away from her at the time. Clark says that Combs told her that if she intervened, that he would attack her next. She added that no one on Combs' security team intervened to stop the attack. And during her testimony, she is naming the people that were there at the time and the people that she had reached out to. She had reached out to other people in his security personnel to tell him to stop, get him to stop. In the aftermath of the Kid Cudi incident, Combs brutally beat and kicked Cassie Ventura, prompting Clark to make a desperate call to Ventura's mother. When no one in Combs' inner circle would step in to stop the beating, Clark said that she had no other option but to call Regina Ventura. Clark recalled telling the elder Ventura, "He's beating the ish out of your daughter. I'm in over my head. Please help her. I can't call the police, but you can." And this is after they allowed her to leave. They also asked her, how long did you continue to see him hitting her as you walked away? She says, yes, until I went around the bend and I couldn't see anymore. Combs fired Clark, she said, for allegedly failing to inform him about Cassie Ventura's dating Kid Cudi. She was fired a couple of times from him. At one particular point, they talk about Harv Pierre, the president of Bad Boy, and someone that she reported to. And she says that at that particular time, I don't remember what year this was. I don't believe it was around this particular incident. It was before this incident where she was fired. And basically, they fired her for not informing them of a planned vacation. And she says, I did tell him I was taking this vacation. I told Harv Pierre. She also claims that she told Harv Pierre. I wonder if Harv Pierre is going to testify. She says that she also told Harv Pierre of this incident, for 5 days of the lie detector test. I believe that's what it is. I'm trying to remember everything, guys, because this is me recollecting the entire testimony after I recorded the entire thing and read it to you guys, and it didn't record. I mean, it recorded, but it recorded without audio. It's okay. I'm just trying to fill in some of the gaps. So Combs fired Clark, she said, for allegedly failing to inform him about Cassie dating Cudi. I lost everything, Clark said, ticking off a list of employment benefits such as health insurance and a 401k. So she said that not only that, she said she lost her home, she lost her car. Clark says that Combs gave her a 30-day notice in 2012. He said that I would never work again, and then all these people weren't my friends, and that he would make me want to unalive myself. So now this is setting us up for understanding why, because so many people still do not understand why no one reported this, why people were scared of him. Because she then says, literally, that's what happened. When she stopped working for him, there were jobs. She had a job opportunity that it seemed like it was working out. She got the job, and then it never happened. And then she kept on trying to get work, and she would never get work. Her life started to fall apart because of this. So she said that Clark came back to Combs' world in 2016. So that was back in 2012. Now we're talking about 2016. Working as Ventura's creative director. I believe that she basically was Cassie's handler, not creative director. Yes, they did creative things. They talked about some of the creative things that they did together on the stand in her testimony. She talks about some of the things that they did together. Combs and strategically, they're talking about the things that they did together in regards to Cassie's career, because Cassie, in her lawsuit and in her testimony, basically said that he controlled everything. He abused me. He was a terrible guy. My career never flourished. I never got to release any more albums. Only that one album. The defense is trying to change the narrative on that. Combs and Cassie Ventura would have both benefited from splitting up long before they did, the witness said. Yes, they were toxic as a couple, Clark said during the cross-examination by defense lawyer Mark Agnafilo. The defense has sought to downplay violence inflicted on Ventura by Combs by implying that troubling acts within the relationship were consensual or motivated by jealousy. Clark told the court that she was locked up in an office for around 40 hours while being subjected to a lie detector test about missing jewelry. She testified under cross-examination that she was hooked up to the polygraph at about 10 a.m. and wouldn't be finished until about 5 or 6 p.m. Clark said that she would take the test, it would be taken for review, and then she would keep taking the test until Combs cleared her 5 days later. Asked by defense attorney Mark Agnafilo whether she reported to Human Resources what had happened, basically, that she was locked in a building while she took a lie detector test over the course of 5 days, Clark said that she did not. They want to take away from her credibility. They want to say, that didn't happen, because why didn't you report that to HR? You reported the hours that you know that you worked, that you weren't paid for. So Capricorn Clark began to cry under cross-examination after she was asked about working hard for Combs and whether she believed in the work she was doing. Combs' former employee told the court that she had learned a lot from Combs, especially as someone who didn't finish her college education. She said that she considered it another form of business school. And that's a lot of people that grew up in this era that got an opportunity to work with Diddy. You saw it if you watched Making It with the Band. People thought that this is what you needed to do in order to reach the heights of what Diddy had reached and to make the money that he had made. U.S. District Judge Aaron Subramanian dismissed jurors until 1 p.m. for their lunch break. The former assistant has given detailed testimony about Combs and his relationship with Ventura and employees of the rapper's vast business interests. The government's lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, asked the judge if lunch could go longer than the currently allotted half hour. The judge asked if that would slow the jury getting all the evidence by his goal of July 4th. The judge is not playing the goal. He is on a strict schedule. But Comey said the testimony had been moving ahead of schedule. Comey predicted that the government would rest after 5 weeks rather than 6, as earlier planned. So earlier in her direct testimony, Clark offered new details on Combs' attempt to confront Kid Cudi in December of 2011 and why Combs left. She told the court that after she called Cassie Ventura to let her know that Combs broke into Kid Cudi's home, Combs got into the car and left the residence. They were driving away from the home when Combs spotted Kid Cudi traveling in the other direction, Clark said. Combs chased Kid Cudi in the vehicle until he heard sirens headed in the direction of Kid Cudi's home. When Clark told the court, Combs pulled himself together and drove to a stop at a club on Sunset Boulevard. Clark implied that Ventura, this was a little bit of a giggle moment for me when I'm reading the reporting of what the questioning was, because they were talking about Cassie and her talent, her vocal ability. So Clark implied that Ventura, quote, had talent, but not quite to Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey levels. She basically said that she wasn't talented in her testimony. And a lot of people of that era remember, we were like, okay, Cassie's cute and all. And this is why when she had that lackluster performance on 106 in Park, people were like, yeah, she's cute and all, but that's about it. She's no Whitney or Mariah Carey. When the defense pushed Clark to evaluate Ventura's singing ability, the witness said that she wasn't a Whitney or Mariah level talent, but more of a studio artist. Clark said that she's seen Ventura live a handful of times, and Combs, then girlfriend, might have underperformed due to nerves. She also said that around 2016, she thought that the drug use was taking a toll on Ventura's career. So that's important to know. The career of Combs' girlfriend was an important company goal between 2007 and 2010, Capricorn reported. In that time, Ventura seemed to receive the lion's share of Bad Boys Records resources, Clark testified. And this is important to note. This is the defense trying to say Cassie basically got everything from Diddy. He really did invest in her career. She says, from my perspective, the lion's share of the bad boy was on Cassie in the first block of time. The defense presented Clark with emails from her work at Bad Boy Records from January 2012, just 3 weeks after she says that she was kidnapped by Combs. When asked if she continued conducting business with Combs, even after telling the jury that she was kidnapped and threatened with unaliving, Clark responded, yes. Clark testified that she had to tip off Cassie Ventura that Combs was armed and hunting for Kid Cudi at his house. On the morning Combs sought to confront Kid Cudi, Clark said that she managed to sneak in a call to Ventura on her burner phone, and Ventura just happened to be with the rival rapper at that moment, the witness said. Clark said that she could hear Kid Cudi on the speakerphone reacting to this threat in the background, asking, "He's in my house?" Wow. The one-time Combs assistant admitted that she didn't help Los Angeles fire investigators into their probe of Kid Cudi's car getting torched. When a LA Fire Department representative called her number in the summer of 2012, Clark hung up on the investigator and never called back. Clark said that she simply didn't want to have anything to do with this any longer. Remember, during Kid Cudi's testimony, the defense revealed that a female's DNA was discovered, a part of the whole Porsche situation. We still haven't gotten to the bottom of that. So defense attorney Mark Agnafilo entered an email Clark sent to Combs in September of 2014 into evidence, where Clark asked for his forgiveness. The email was sent 2 years after Combs fired her and about 2 years before she returned to work for him again. In the email, Clark wrote that hopefully Combs will forgive her soon and that she felt like he forgave everyone but her. Other emails were also brought into court, including one from months later where Clark said that she wanted to be his friend again. Clark seemed angry with Cassie Ventura, saying that she was clearly never a real friend. Clark broke down sobbing on the witness stand, saying the situation was complicated for her and that she felt that she was Ventura's protector. She apologized to the judge for her crying, but the judge assured her that she didn't need to be sorry. This is interesting because I feel like this situation is very complicated when it comes to understanding cycles of abuse. Again, when we talk about cycles of abuse, we're not just talking about Cassie Ventura. We're talking about the people that worked for this man. They continue in regards to this. And before we even continue, guys, just a reminder, don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to share this video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications because we do have quite a few of you that are new here and that are not subscribed. If you would like a summary of the Diddy trial updates, be sure to subscribe. We don't just talk about Diddy here. We talk about everything in pop culture, music, entertainment, and reality television. So be sure to check out our other things that we have here on the channel. And be sure to subscribe to the Kempire podcast. And don't forget, I will be talking about the Diddler come July 10th when I come to Philadelphia's City Winery. Don't forget the Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era. Perfect timing, right? The Villain Era is coming to City Winery in Philadelphia on July 10th, then City Winery in Atlanta on August 5th, then Union Stage on August 22nd in Washington, D.C., then back here in New York City on September 12th. The New York City show will have a live stream option. It's the only show that will have a live stream option. So go get your tickets today for that. And for all ticket information, plus meet and greets will be available for all of the shows. So if you want to meet me and Kiki and all kinds of things, it's going to be a night of hot topics. We'll be talking about everything from the Diddler to Real Housewives of Atlanta. Get your tickets today. More information on the Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era. Ticket information will be available in the description. So back to this, along with everything else, Kempire will be in the description. For those that are just joining us, I literally recorded this video and I was doing the back and forth in regards to the testimony. And I was recording that for like an hour and 15 minutes. And I look up and I was like, oh, OMG, it's muted. And I had to double check. And I was like, did the entire thing mute? Apparently. It's okay. It happens. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's happened to me before. It probably will happen to me again. And especially when we're covering this Diddy trial every single day, things are going to happen. There are going to be ahs, and all kinds of things that are left in. You might even have a moment of where I'm just like reading, and then I get back here. I'm trying to edit these as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Shout out to all of you that keep saying that you appreciate my reporting on this. I'm doing this for you guys because I wasn't even sure if I was going to cover this on a daily basis. So far, I see the need to cover this on a daily basis because of everything that's coming out is pretty damning in a lot of ways. So that's why we're covering it on a daily basis, along with everything else that we cover here. Okay. And luckily, there was no Diddy yesterday because we had a long Real Housewives of Atlanta recap. But next week might be a little different. All right, so let's get back to this. So Clark testified that she had no choice but to go back working for Combs and even asked for his forgiveness since he held, quote, all the power. The defense showed how Clark seemed keen on working for Combs even after the alleged kidnapping and threats against her. But on redirect examination by the government, Clark told jurors that she had no choice but to seek employment with Combs again just to show the entertainment industry that she was, quote, valuable and not disposable. He holds all the power as it relates to me, she explained. Clark later added, I just want to work and provide for my son. Because remember, he told her, he threatened her, saying, I will destroy you. You will never work in this industry again. I will make you want to unalive yourself. He said that, according to her, that's what he said to her. And she saw that was what was happening. Every job that she was applying for, she was not getting. And people from that era knew Capricorn Clark. They knew her association with him. God only knows what he was saying in these board meetings to these people. So Clark told the court that she went with Combs on the day of the break-in at Kid Cudi's home because she felt that she could be hurt if she refused. I mean, if he's walking allegedly around with a GUN and he's frantic and he's acting not himself, for lack of a better way of saying it. She said that Combs had a GUN throughout the entire incident and it was visible to her. Clark also testified that she didn't report the situation to the police because Combs told her that if the police found out about breaking into Kid Cudi's home, they would all be hurt. Clark left the witness stand and court is adjourned for the day. Prosecutors said that they believe they will be able to get through their list of witnesses for tomorrow, which will include members of the Los Angeles Police and Fire Departments. So I already told you guys, I don't remember if it was in this video or the previous video where I covered this, but basically that the witnesses that they had for today, based off of me following the transcript of Capricorn Clark's testimony, I was like, they're not going to be done with Capricorn. They won't be done with Capricorn midday in order to get to these other witnesses. But at least she's done now. I can't even imagine what she's feeling like now. Probably partly relief, but at the same time reliving trauma that she's tried to forget. Who knows? Who knows? But what I do know, that is your update for day 10 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Some major things that came out from Capricorn Clark's testimony for me was the way that he utilized his employees to satisfy these things that he wanted done, including when we're talking about the Kid Cudi situation, arson, when we're trying to prove these racketeering charges and whatnot. These are important elements. I'm not saying it's enough to prove the government's case. However, what I'm saying is these are part of those puzzle pieces. And as I mentioned to you guys before, don't forget you will be able to hear an audio version of these recaps and additional content that I end up finding sometimes after I record these. I usually add to the podcast version. So be sure to subscribe to the Kempire podcast and be sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions on this update in regards to Capricorn Clark, Diddy's former assistant, testifying in court today. We're going to continue our coverage with day 11 tomorrow. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Again, more information on the Kempire After Dark. Live shows will be coming to Philadelphia, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and New York City. All ticket information will be available in the description. Thank you so much for watching and for listening.
Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. Don't forget to give the Kempire 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And as always, for more information on everything Kempire Radio Network, head on over to KempireRadio.com.
At Carowinds, we're serious about our guests having fun. Seriously, just listen to our Memorial Day sale. Buy a 2025 Silver Pass and get unlimited visits through Labor Day, plus free parking. Save $10 online at carowinds.com, plus taxes and fees.